I am your host, Theblackautismo, and this time around I'm going to be playing a game recommended to me from an acquaintance on Discord called Medabots, Rokoshu version and Medabee version, both of which are developed and published by Natsumi, the same people who published Harvest Moon, Lufia, and Rune Factory. The best way to describe this game is to call it a strategical Pokemon and Mega Man Battle Network hybrid. You'll see why I refer to it as that later on in the podcast. A quick announcement before I get into today's episode. I am no longer posting on Anchor FM. If you want more updates on where I'm posting, be sure to follow my Instagram and subscribe to my YouTube channel to keep up with all my work. Now on to the show. The game's intro is a banger. It gives you a rolling start feeling when they harmonize the word Medabots. It hits you with that 90s Sonic title theme music off of like Sonic Heroes. They even sing a full song too with it, which is just the anime OP for Medabots. The first three BGM settings are all fire tracks. The BGM number 3 reminds me of Susie's theme from Deltarune with the bass and the dun 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 dun. And then BGM 2 sounds like it's a circus-like Jevil type of theme that's less chaotic, so can you really call it a Jevil theme then? BGM 1 doesn't remind me of anything. It's just a banging BGM I would listen to. It's like a tutorial theme that smacks beyond belief but would get tiring after a while. But if I had to choose one thing it reminds me of, it would probably be the panic theme from Puyo Puyo Soup on the GBA. When you start the game, everyone tells you to screw off because they're busy researching. And I'm over here like, come on now, I came here to learn, bruh, not to be told to go play outside. So after some wandering around in the lab/museum, some scientist guarding a door slumps us on the floor just because we try to get into a private research room? Keep in mind, TBAisen is what, 10 years old? And it's some old grayed-haired scientist giving us the business, the one-piece combo, knocking us out in one hit. Then he gonna turn around and apologize to Nay, who was in the room right before we got slumped on the floor. Talk about fakeness, bro, but I can't blame him. Her portrait sprite is the only sprite so far that doesn't look like complete horse crap. But I'll get into that a little later on. Once we get up to go with Nay to see the new prototypes of Medabots, or really Bionicles for simplicity's sake, I'll be using those interchangeably throughout this whole podcast, and the private lab, TBAisen keeps fanboying at all the Medabots in Professor Nay's lab. Apparently she has some rare collector's edition Medabots that aren't sold anywhere, and our two starters for the game are Kuwagata and Kabuto, silver and yellow respectively. After we get a tour of the lab/museum, we decide to go home in a frenzy because we spent all day looking at the shiny Bionicles. We are greeted with a free roam town similar to Earthbound. So our mom tells us to pick up some not beefaroni from the store and said, since she doesn't have change, she gave us, a 10-year-old kid, $50. Yeah, good going, mom. Nothing wrong can happen there. Then as soon as TBAisen shows up to the store, you get scammed by some teenager who spent too much on the starter of this game and left us with 2 cents after his special deal of $49.80. I swear, TBAisen lives in a tough part of town. First he got slumped by a grown man, then he got hoodwinked by a teen who sold his Medabot parts like a scalper on eBay who spent too much on toilet paper. Bro, what is with him? We get the Medabot parts and everything, but like, at what cost? I'll tell you, $49.80. How are we, yes, us, going to explain to mom that we spent our money on Bionicles and not on the not beefaroni? The scammer must have written a new single that day because he sure got us. So after getting scammed like crazy, the scalper introduces himself as Henry, who looks like Android 17's scuffed, bootleg, twice-removed cousin. If you don't believe me, look up Medabots RPG GBA Henry on Google, and you'll see. How weird. Henry gives us a starter Medabot and says, I choose him, Professor. Probably not an important detail, don't worry about it. So our mom sends us to our room for spending the dinner money on Bionicles. Come on, mom. We assemble our Bionicle, and we are missing the most important part. The quad processing CPU, I mean, the metal, of course. Now we reach a little dead point to where I can get into the small mechanics that this game has. You can run right off the bat, which is nice as Pokemon doesn't like to give you that commodity at times. The tutorial is actually well made. They explain to you what a Medabot is on the TV, that you need metals to power the Medabot, so think of it like a power supply to a computer. The portrait sprites look downright awful. They just haven't aged well, but the overall sprites and the walking/running animations give you an Earthbound/Mother 3 experience that you can't really find anywhere else besides those games. Fun fact, your player character's cowlick moves up and down when you walk around. The run and talk talk functions share the same button, which is kind of weird to get used to since you have to hold to run and press A to talk. Not a game-breaking change, just awkward to use. And you can name your character in this game. His OG name is Ikki, I-K-K-I. With all those small but important details out of the way, let's get back to the story, shall we? We're out of luck right now, looking kinda stupid with no metal to power our Medabot. It's like buying a game but you don't have the console, or even worse, like having cereal without a bowl. But then all of a sudden, we see a masked thief outside the window, presumably trying to rob money off this random office worker, who then hits us with the most relatable line yet. If you want money, I'm broke. But it turns out after saying this iconic line, the mysterious thief reveals himself as the Phantom Renegade, who gives the office worker, our dad, a medal for us to conveniently have. He told him to put that medal near our pillow like he's the Tooth Fairy or something. Kinda weird, buddy. Who specifies how to give a medal to their kid? I don't know. But hey, you do you. So let me tell you something. Our dad in this game shows up to give us the medal to power our starter for the game, which was already clutch enough. But he manages to get us ungrounded too. What a go. After getting our medal from our goated dad, I decide to nickname our Bionicle Cooler because the resemblance is there. Anyways, after that, we got our Medawatch to control Cooler, so that's pretty cool. With us being ungrounded and leaving the house, we're off to start our journey of being the very best Bionicle master like no one ever was. So you meet up with your childhood friend Erica, who decides to challenge you to a Bionicle fight, and this is the first proper tutorial battle, and let me tell you, it's pretty hard for a tutorial. I'm talking Shin Megami Tensei 3 levels of difficulty, if the RNG is not on your side. This section will cover the battle mechanics for this game. If you'd rather play the game yourself and find out, feel free to skip over this section. With that warning out of the way, let's get into it. The combat system is a cross between Mega Man Battle Network and Fire Emblem, where you have parts that you can equip to your Medabot to fight with, but those parts can be damaged when you get attacked. When you initiate an attack, you get a more detailed attack screen like using a unit in Fire Emblem for combat. You can see the action go on in real time. Also, there's crits in this game, so have fun and be careful because those crits can one-shot your Bionicle's body parts. Once you win the battle, it will say function ceased for the also ran leader. By the way, also ran means loser. There's a timer to where whoever sustains the most damage after battle loses the match, and the winner is the least damaged one. Also, let me just say, weapons that can chain attacks like Cooler's Pipo Hammer, it's just pure hype in all regards because when it happens, you can take 2 or 3 body parts off easy. Yes, Medabots do have body parts, a head, 2 arms, and a set of 2 legs. In a way, it sets itself up to be a Mega Man strategic crossover by having swappable body parts, similar to chips in that game. During the battle, you stand there choosing your moves like old Final Fantasy. Then once you attack or make an action, you come up to the metal border between you and your opponent and either attack, which will take you to a detailed screen of your Medabot fighting in a Fire Emblem-like style, or you stay in the overworld for the battle and use a skill unique to your Medabot. Like for Cooler's skill, he has Scout, which raises your accuracy up for you and your team of Bionicles. Change their positions right before combat, and after every battle you gain EXP to level up your Medabot. 2 more things before we get back to the story. The level up theme is so catchy, it reminds you of a town-themed startup in Pokemon Emerald, and you can one-shot your opponent by aiming for the head. Alright, let's cut back to the story. So after beating up your childhood friend Erica, with your Bionicle, she gets the bright idea to go to school because they're having a Bionicle dog fight. And guess what? You have to fight this girl and her team of goons. Really just 2 snot-nosed kids who thought about stepping up on Cooler. So obviously you need to show them who has the bigger Bionicle at the end of the day. So you absolutely decimate them except for Sloan. He took a bit with his Bionicle having a skill to focus and spread out damage on his body parts. As I was trying to gimp him with a Pipo Hammer Wombo Combo Supreme with extra sword, but alas he is too tanky. Oh yeah, did I mention, pause, that Sloan took me to town and gave me the Wombo Combo. Yeah, I want revenge Sloan. 1v1 me bro. So after I come back to have round 2 with Sloan, I proceed to dunk on him, epic gamer style, no damage taken whatsoever, and let me just say, it felt great to embarrass a child in a Bionicle dogfight. If you can't handle the heat, stay out of the dryer, Sloan. That's why your clothes are dirty, by catching my fade. Here's some background on the last bit made earlier. Sloan mentions laundry and its terminology a lot in the game. The whole lore behind this fight is that it's up to us to reclaim our lost territory by having our Bionicles fight to the death, maybe lose a couple of limbs in the process. Territory being the playground, of course. Beat Samantha's 2 goons to the ground with a hammer. It's time for you to face the big honcho herself, big woman on campus. Samantha. Battle with her second goon named Spike was nothing but an RNG riddle fest. Skill did not factor into the equation. It was a matter of AI manipulation and praying that the AI does something dumb. Here's the skinny, fellow campers. Samantha's Bionicle Pepper Cat is a BS boss. While she is a glass cannon, she gets way too many turns delayed to hurting on you, and she can give you paralysis, which gives her even more turns to blitz on you while you're already down. There are many, and I mean many, tries she has been beat, only for her to front like that dub didn't matter, cause we wasn't playing the official rules, aka we didn't get a chance to jump you. I'm serious. These grade schoolers jump you. I swear, TBAisen lives in the worst part of town, but guess what? Our boy Cooler comes through and bodied all three of them at once in this really cool stylized cutscene with this rock music in there, so they run off like the sore losers they are. Erica tells us that she'll put our boy Cooler on the school newspaper and not TBAisen, which is high-key disrespectful to TBAisen, but you know what? Cooler was out there doing his thing, so you can't do too much there. Guys, beat up more kids with your superior Bionicle in school. So at one point, I went to this music room inside the school, and I was talking to this salaryman teacher who was saying no meta watches at school, when the old dude next to him said, "Meta battle hard." Thinking, how are you supposed to battle then? All of a sudden, on his hidden boss BS, I'm fighting the first person to have 2 Bionicles versus my lowly, measly 1. I was scared, but luckily they're very slow. In the end, they weren't ish, but it would have been a different story with the Sumo Bionicles. They're crazy fast for whatever reason. Then right after he loses, he says the economy still looks bad, is what we say to students after taking their meta watch. I'm just over here like, okay, I'm about to head out now. Never fighting you again. Here's a pro tip. Assume everyone is an enemy, because they will most likely want to have a Bionicle fight. So be sure to use the right Bionicle parts on your Medabot before combat, and make sure to save constantly. Although I will say, saving is tedious for many reasons I won't get into, but the main reason is because you have to go through 2 options every time to save properly, and it stutters a bit. The reason why I tell you to save is so you don't lose your progress, because if you lose a Medabot fight, you go back to your last save point, so be sure to save like crazy. Did I mention there's random encounters with meta fighters, just like stepping into tall grass to find a Pokemon? You can find a little boy, girl, and of course, the third gender, Bionicle, just raring to battle you. And oh yeah, by the way, you have no choice but to battle them, because you can't run away from a trainer battle. There's been a recent incident where all the girls in the school are getting, and I quote, tickled. So it's up to us to solve the case of the cootie tickler. We go back to Erica's house to find out who's been tickling all the girls, so in order to bait our tickler, we need to use a modern solution that is 100% guaranteed to work, and that's cross-dressing. We get to cross-dress in this game, and our love interest Karen says we kill that skirt. But after Erica got tickled, we head into the abandoned factory to find some dude in his limited edition Easy Gang shades hanging out in an abandoned factory controlling his Bionicle that went around tickling grade school girls. He's the leader of the esteemed and slimy Rubber Robo gang. He looks like a rejected Teletubby in a black onesie. So we one-shot this slimy fellow, and just like that, Cooler's medal evolved. Since your medals evolve at a certain level, you get new techniques. So our character said the most raw line possible. Do you feel lucky, punk? Do you? But then proceeds to hide in his dress because he doesn't live in a very accepting part of town. So this select trio's Metafighter officer shows up to take the rejected Teletubby right to the slammers, only for him to say, I love to take the credit of people's hard work. Like I said, I have a headcanon that TBAisen is living in the toughest and most grittiest neighborhood possible. Convince me otherwise. Interesting. It seems we've reached the end of this review. Now let's head over to that outro. Well, thank you for tuning in to this second episode of Blowin the Cartridge. If you want to see me continue Rokoshu version, or start out fresh on Medabee version, and complete them to be added as a bonus completion episode to where I give my final opinions on all the games I didn't finish in this series, be sure to follow my YouTube and Instagram, Theblackautismo TBA, for my YouTube channel, and Theblackautismo _TBA for my Instagram. And just in case you just tuned in to this episode and haven't seen the first, I'll do the spelling for you. So for TBA, it's in all caps, TBA, and then for it is uppercase T, and then for autismo, it is autism, but with an O. Don't forget to catch my latest episodes on Spotify and other major platforms that I will link to in the description down below for my people on YouTube, and it will also be posted on my Instagram for my non-YouTube listeners. Once again, I just want to say thank you for listening to this podcast the whole way through, or even skipping to the end. It means a lot to me to introduce you guys to play new games you wouldn't have heard otherwise. So take care and have yourselves a good one.